Hey everybody, how are you doing tonight? um, Thanks for joining, or for most of you, thanks for watching at some later time. We're getting great reach on these, and so that's good. I mean, we get a lot of views, not so many live, but later on, people go onto my Facebook page and view this. Well, I want to get at it tonight. I mean, it's a serious topic, abortion and life, and there's just some things I want to point out, especially in this political season. And the first thing I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm going to walk through New Hampshire's recently passed Fetal Life Protection Act. And I don't think a lot of people really know what it says, especially given the politics that are out there right now. So I just kind of want to walk through what this new law in New Hampshire says. And I'll do it quickly. The first thing it says is, except in the case of emergency, and we'll get into what a medical emergency is. No abortion shall be performed unless a healthcare provider, has determined that the probable gestation age of the fetus is 24 weeks, 6 months. So essentially, the bill says a healthcare provider, which can be a nurse. Let me go to the definitions just to be precise here. So a healthcare provider can be any person who provides healthcare services. The term includes, but is not limited to, doctors, nurses, or any employee of a medical facility. So a healthcare provider must first determine the gestation age of the fetus, and do it with some reasonable due diligence. There's got to be some reasonable, knowledgeable due diligence to determine the gestation age. So that's the first part. Pretty sensible. Okay, someone who knows what they're doing has got to determine the gestation age of the fetus. And then it goes on to say, except as in a medical emergency, that there can only be a termination of the pregnancy or an abortion, when the fetus is greater than 24 weeks. So first 6 months, no abortions. Last 3 months, I'm sorry, I'm getting it back. First 6 months, there can be abortion. Last 3 months, no abortions. All right. First 6 months, you can have an abortion, pro-choice. Last 3 months, no abortion, except in the case of medical emergencies. Okay, so what's a medical emergency? Well, this defines it. One is, fetal abnormality is one. Here are the others. Preserve the life of the pregnant woman, whose life is endangered by physical disorder, physical illness, physical injury, including a life-endangering physical condition caused by or arising from the pregnancy itself, or when the pregnancy will create a serious risk of substantial or irreversible impairment of major bodily function. So essentially, their first 6 months, a woman has a right to choose, for any reason, quite frankly, any reason. Last 3 months, if there's a medical emergency or an issue with fetal abnormality. So when I first read this, this law is very, very consistent, very, very in line with what Roe v. Wade said. So when I read this, and then you hear in the media and Democrats calling this an abortion ban in New Hampshire. It's not. It's not an abortion ban. I mean, it is. It is. First 6 months, a woman has a right to choose for any reason, and so last 3 months of pregnancy, if there's a medical emergency, then there can be an abortion. Otherwise, no abortion in the last 3 months. So it's very consistent with what Roe v. Wade used to say. It's no longer the law of the land, and I think that's why the Democrats and pro-choice people are attacking this law. Is Hobbes overturned Roe v. Wade, and the interesting thing about this law is it's entirely consistent with what Hobbes says too. Hobbes says it's up to the states. States go figure it out. And the people of New Hampshire, through its legislature, have figured out what we want in New Hampshire as it relates to abortion. And so all this attack by the Democrats and the attacks on Sununu about this, I don't get it. And I think, it is, this idea that it's an abortion ban is just a lie. It is a lie. This is not an abortion ban. All right. It allows choice for the first 6 months. Now, I will tell you that the, let me pull this up for you. Hold on a second. That the Gallup poll that they have done every few years about abortion, oh, my light went out here, about abortion, everyone should know that third trimester abortions, are disapproved by somewhere between 70 to 80% of Americans. So let me say that again. 70 to 80% of Americans do not approve of third trimester abortions. So when the Democrats call the New Hampshire law an abortion ban, what they're really saying, they have to be saying, because abortions are allowed in the first 6 months, they have to be saying that the ban in the third trimester is a bad thing. Well, when you look at where America is on third trimester abortions, 70 to 80% against third trimester abortions, then the Democrat position on third trimester abortions is extreme. It is extreme, for them to criticize this New Hampshire law, calling it a ban on abortion, when in fact it allows abortion the first 6 months of pregnancy. And the ban only applies in the last 3 months, which a large majority of Americans are not in favor of third trimester abortions. And this law even has exceptions, all right? It has exceptions. It has exceptions for, health of the mother, for severe issues with the baby. So there's exceptions in the third trimester for those things. Now, so to me, that Democrat talking point is a lie. I know Tom Sherman is attacking Sununu over this. It's a lie. And I'm going to talk about this commercial that Sherman has out. The other thing I heard some Democrats say, there's no exception for rape and incest. And wait a minute, you can get an abortion the first 6 months under New Hampshire law for any reason. Any reason. So I don't know what they're talking about, an exception. I mean, if God forbid someone is raped and becomes pregnant, it's an awful, awful situation. I mean, that woman can choose to have an abortion, during the first 6 months of her pregnancy. So I think, now if they're saying, well, there should be a rape and incest exception for the third trimester. And I think the rationale and why that isn't in the law is, if God forbid someone becomes pregnant because of rape or incest, that the first 6 months of the pregnancy is sufficient time to make a choice about whether to terminate the pregnancy or not. And so I think that's what the rationale is. So these attacks about this New Hampshire law, in my opinion, are mostly all lies. Now, why are they doing it? Why are the Democrats doing it? I think a number of reasons. I think a number of reasons. One is with the Hobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade and Casey, that it gave the Democrats an issue to attack conservatives and Republicans on, because everything else is going so bad nationally with inflation, the economy, the southern border, what's going on with China, opioid overdose, internationally, the Ukraine war, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and all of it. I've talked about the list before. So they really don't have anything much to attack Republicans on except abortion. And that's why all these commercials you see, they're attacking every Republican candidate on abortion, and the federal candidates about laws that's going to happen in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, I don't think can happen. I think Dobbs says that the federal government can't do that, so that's a bit of a lie, too. They're even attacking Sununu, who's pro-choice, on this bill. But they don't have anything else to attack Republicans on. The other thing in New Hampshire that I think a lot of people did not realize before this law was passed, there was no laws in New Hampshire to protect the unborn. None. No laws whatsoever. And in fact, there were no laws in New Hampshire that even required any reporting about the number of abortions. So we here in New Hampshire just didn't know how many abortions were occurring, and so someone could get an abortion right up to the day before the baby was to be born in New Hampshire, before this Fetal Life Protection Act passed. So and I hope, I hope the Democrats watch this. I hope independents watch this. I hope pro-life people watch it. I hope pro-choice people watch it. And the purpose of me going through this Fetal Life Protection Act in detail is, it comes to a compromise, and really not a compromise, but it is a law, an abortion law, that is very, very consistent with what Roe v. Wade said. It's by no means extreme whatsoever. In fact, I would say the Democrats calling this a an abortion ban, essentially criticizing the fact that this law largely prohibits abortions in the third trimester. By criticizing that, they are being extreme because most Americans, 70-80% of Americans, are against abortions in the third trimester. So I think the criticism of this law is in fact demonstrates the extremism of the Democrats on the abortion issue. In fact, they believe abortion at any time. So, and by the way, so I hope everyone watches this. You know, I think there's just so many lies going on in these political ads that I hope people take the time, you know, to do a little research. Send me an email and, you know, and to verify what's saying. Now that new ad by Tom Sherman, let me see if I can find it, that he was bragging about. I mean, there's so many lies in it. It's like, wow. I mean, and it's, it's a lie about, fetal anomalies. It's just lies about everything in that law, you know, and so I wish that Tom Sherman would take that ad down, you know, and in fact, if Tom Sherman wants to have a debate with me over this ad, bring it on. I'll come debate you, Tom, anytime, and we'll debate nothing but this ad, which is awful because it's totally full of lies. So Sununu should not be taking this kind of trash from the Democrats about abortion. And quite frankly, I don't think abortion should even be much of an issue in this election. It's settled in New Hampshire with respect to this law. The Hobbs decision said it's up to New Hampshire. And the only reason that the Democrats are hammering Republicans on abortion is because they don't have anything else to run on. So they're making stuff up. They're trying to instill fear in the women of New Hampshire and America to win votes. And that's what they typically do. They instill fear in people to try to win votes. And this is a very reasonable law. I can tell you, and those of you who know me, I'm pro-life. This law is what the people of New Hampshire want. And so let's get this abortion issue out of the way. And again, this guy, Dr. Tom Sherman, I'll debate you, Tom. Bring it on. Well, that's right, Tricia. That's right. Tom Sherman, bring it on. I'll come and debate you anywhere. And only about this commercial. Let's debate this commercial. And now there's one, I'm going to end this soon. If you have any questions, type in your questions. And I'll do my best to answer them. But, I'm pro-life. And I'm pro-life largely for spiritual reasons. I'm not particularly religious, but I'm quite spiritual. I believe in God and Jesus, but so largely for spiritual reasons. And I wonder about politicians like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, and there's tons of other ones out there. They're the obvious ones, but politicians, and in their case, they're both Catholic, and we know there's been issues with respect to, I think, one or both of them. I'm not sure about whether they can take communion because of their stance on abortion, because we know the Catholic Church is against abortion, and both of Biden and Pelosi have said at various times that they are pro-life as it relates to their religion, and they are pro-abortion as it relates to their politics, I guess, or society. And so they therefore, fight for abortion rights. And, and that position has always sort of been a head scratcher to me. I think it's a real head scratcher. That if you really believed from a spiritual perspective that, that is an unborn person in the womb, that's the fetus is life, that if you really believe that from a spiritual perspective, then how can you go and support abortion in our culture? I think main part of the answer is just politics, but there's a moral aspect to that's always been a head scratcher to me. And, so it's, and I'm not here to judge anybody. I mean, it's up to God and Jesus to judge people. It's not up to me. But I have a hypothetical question for Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi on this issue. And here's my hypothetical question to them. When you are on your deathbed, and if you are conscious on your deathbed, will you ask God and Jesus for forgiveness because of your cultural, political support of abortions? And it would be great to hear either of them answer that question honestly. But it, would one of them or both of them on their deathbed, assuming they have a state of mind, would they ask God and Jesus for forgiveness for their pro-abortion activities as a politician? And listen, we know God's grace is there for anybody by just asking for it, but I'm wondering if they would ask for it, and if they could even answer that question honestly. But hypothetical question, that pretty heavy topic tonight. I hope it was helpful to folks, and sorry for the little bit of confusion at the beginning. Again, if anybody has any topics they want to discuss, let me know. If someone can reach out to this Tom Sherman and arrange a debate between he and I over this commercial, love to do it. In fact, I'll pay for the venue. I'll pay for everything if he's willing to debate on this commercial on abortion. So thanks so much. Tell your friends, tell your undeclared friends, take a look at this. Tell your Democrat friends, take a look at this. Have a great evening. God bless you, and we shall see you later. Thank you.